The demonslayerinfinitycastle movie was a spectacular display of everything right with Studio Ufotable and everything wrong with Demon Slayer. The Jujutsu Kaisen sequel manga Modulo is quite interesting. The staff list for the Chainsawman movie was unveiled recently and it was exactly as insane as you'd expect it to be, and more Onepunchman Season 3 news. Welcome back to another episode of This Month in Anime. Not only are we on time, this time around we are early, you love to see it. Let's jump right into it. You know what else I love to see? My subscriber count going up. It makes me really happy, so please go down there and press the subscribe button. That would be really nice of you. You can also become a member of this channel. Members get at least 2 exclusive videos per month, custom badges and emojis, shoutouts and more. Just go down there and press the join button.
Flashback. End of flashback.
Alright, Demon Slayer Infinity Castle, let's talk about it and let's try to use as little footage from it as possible because Aniplex doesn't play around when it comes to copyright. I'm probably pushing it already with that intro. So the movie was quite good, all things considered. It had the spectacular highs you expect from a Ufotable production, it had the occasional brief moments of brilliance you expect from Demon Slayer the story, and it had many of those limitations you expect from both the IP and the team handling it. Full disclosure, I have reviewed this movie in detail before in a members only video, so this is an abbreviated version. Story-wise, the movie didn't impress me all that much, and now that all the Demon Slayer fans have disliked the video and clicked off, let's talk about why. I felt like a lot of this movie was very formulaic and predictable. Nothing about it made me go, oh, I can't believe that happened. Also, some of it felt tone deaf to me, if that makes sense. Here's an example. Season 4 ended on an intense note. The beloved Ubuyashiki blew himself up and the Hashiras who respected him a lot were clearly very upset about it. That's literally one of the plot points, the fact that Ubuyashiki's death would motivate the Demon Slayers. So how did this movie build on that idea and preserve that melancholic tone? By starting things off with goofy comedy, of course. Look guys, Gyu and Tanjiro are just so silly. I don't know, maybe I'm nitpicking, but it felt wrong. I felt like it cheapened the impact of the last episode. Besides all that, the movie wasn't well scripted whatsoever. The writing was flawed at a technical level. The barrage of momentum-killing flashbacks, the redundant dialogue stating the obvious, the inconsistent pacing, it felt less like a cohesive theatrical experience and more like a bunch of episodes stitched together. A feeling that's particularly funny because Demon Slayer has a history of packaging movies into TV seasons, something they'll probably do this time around as well. There were a few highlights, of course. Akaza's backstory wasn't exactly groundbreaking, but it was compelling and well executed, and Toma was a fantastic addition to the cast of villains. More about the latter, I loved his character and personality, he was such a breath of fresh air. Here's the thing, Demon Slayer is filled with those could have been a good guy but circumstances made him that way villains, and in my opinion that trope is extremely overdone and predictable. Doma on the other hand, at least based on what I have seen, is just a good old evil son of a bitch, and I love that. He infuriates me and that's a compliment. I genuinely believe he was the best thing about this movie writing wise. Besides all that, the story was typical. It was your standard Demon Slayer for the people who like that kind of thing. That's the kind of thing those people like. As for the visuals, it was Demon Slayer but dialed up to 11, which is both a good and a bad thing, mostly good though. Let's start with the negatives. The direction and storyboards were inconsistent, let's put it that way. The establishing shots centered around the Infinity Castle and the Akaza fight from the second half of the movie were incredibly dynamic and well storyboarded, while the rest ranged from standard to quite good, which is a bit of a letdown for a high-profile movie. You know the drill by now, Demon Slayer the IP will never allow Studio Ufotable to go fully experimental. That approach is reserved for Type Moon projects. Mahoyo will move mountains. Animation-wise, we had a bunch of highlights as expected. The 3 main fights each had their moments, with the Akaza fight being head and shoulders above the other two, mostly thanks to Masayuki Kunihiro and his monstrous output, while the non-action scenes were very polished but not necessarily out of this world. The main visual highlight from this movie, however, was the compositing and the CG use, and good fucking god did Yuichi Terao and his team go all out. The Infinity Castle in and of itself was a mind-bending set piece in both its scale and execution, and the overall photography was jaw-dropping, quite possibly the studio's best till date. Insanely complicated dynamic shots, incredible integration of digital components, fantastic lighting, all of it was flawless. Ufotable's digital team continues to one-up themselves. Overall, the movie was quite good, although I expect the subsequent two to be better both in terms of writing and the visuals. Good movie though, not complaining. Jujutsu Kaisen now has an official sequel, which is a bizarre sentence, but it's true. Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo, written by the one and only Gege Akutami, is finally here, and it's quite intriguing. Now, it is very difficult for me to offer any actual substantial commentaries since as of this recording there are only 2 chapters out, so here are a few first impressions instead. Right off the bat, this series is very heavy-handed with its exposition and world building. Unlike the main series, which followed Itadori, a naive child who knew nothing about Jujutsu society, Modulo follows the grandchildren of Yuta and Maki, aka kids who were born into Jujutsu society, and as such, it doesn't shy away from portraying the ruthless family dynamics and politics that pretty much defines the Jujutsu world. It is a more bleak and therefore less entertaining method of storytelling, but it is a nice change of pace. Besides all that, I can't help but feel nostalgic whenever events from the original series get mentioned. I know it hasn't been a while, but I don't know, it gets me. Maybe I am a Jujutsu Kaisen fanboy. Anyway, I am excited to see what the series ends up being. I don't know where Gege is headed, I just hope it's somewhere purposeful. I hope Modulo is the result of Gege's creative instincts and passion and not the outcome of publishers pestering him about a Jujutsu Kaisen sequel. The Chainsawman movie came out the other day, in Japan that is, and with it came the staff list, and boy oh boy, it was insane. You had practically every major name involved with season 1, and think of how much territory that takes in, as well as other major animators like Bahi JD and Yuto. What a lineup. Sadly, there was a bunch of stupid controversy surrounding the staff list. Apparently, some people had expected the likes of Vincent Chansard, Hakuyo and Shinya Ohira to show up for whatever reason, but let's not waste time talking about it, it's not worth it. What is worth talking about, however, is 1. The absence of Keisuke Seishimo, 2. The absence of the Jujutsu Kaisen core team, and 3. The absence of animator Isuta Meister. The first 2 are interesting because they seem to suggest a fairly substantial split took place behind the scenes between the CSM and JJK teams, and the latter is interesting because watching a Yoshihara project without Meister on it just feels wrong. Anyway, I'm sure the movie looks breathtaking. To be honest, I've probably seen half of it already thanks to the 672 fucking trailers they've dropped over the past month. In other news, we got a new trailer for One-Punch-Man Season 3, and it looks like they're still making massive changes to the shots, which is a bit concerning given how close the air date is. Also, it looks like they'll be using footage from both the pre-animated trailers in the actual show, which isn't exactly a surprise given how scuffed this project is. Also, just so you know, this is still a pre-animated trailer, they're just reusing stuff from it in the actual show. A few people online were like, hey, you said the trailer was pre-animated but it's clearly not, I bet you feel like an idiot. Well, no, because the trailer was still pre-animated, they're just using stuff from it in the actual show, probably because they realized they couldn't animate something that solid, and they would be far from the only team to do something like that. I'm looking at you, Hell's Paradise. And that's it for One Punch Man news. I'm not shameless enough to put One Punch Man in the title for what is it, the 7th time, but I wanted to mention it in passing, hoping for the best. What else can I talk about? Let's see. Oh, Dr. Stone. It has been incredible lately. The last 3 or 4 episodes have been phenomenal, like genuinely phenomenal. The conclusion to the conflict between the 2 armies left me on the edge of my seat, and the most recent episode as of this recording reignited that adventurous tone the early parts of this show had. Good stuff. Also, Suika is the single greatest character ever. She solos Goku, she's smarter than Aizen, she has more aura than Sukuna. She is simply the greatest. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. And that's it. Make sure to like and subscribe. A special thanks to Nude03, Pavel and Damir for becoming tier 3 members, and until next time.